Welcome to the G.L.A.M.B Design Podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Rose, and I'm on a mission to find healing and exposing my truth through sharing my unfiltered story. I've learned there's strength in showing your scars so others know that they can heal. I firsthand witnessed the damage of hiding from and suppressing my innermost pains and fears. I'm done subscribing to societal norms and the pressure of keeping up a picture-perfect image. I'm bringing you truth, honesty, vulnerability, uncomfortable conversations, and peeling back the layers of all of the experiences that have shaped me. I don't have any motives other than to heal, but I invite you to join me on my healing journey because there's power in community. Let's grow, learn, achieve, motivate, and believe together. This is a safe space. Welcome to my heart. Victory classes in session. Gear up to learn all the things they didn't teach you in school. You bleed just to know you're alive. Hey guys, and welcome to episode 7 of Victory, the Fat Girl. When I tell you I have procrastinated more with this episode than any episode to date. And I'm like, why? Like every episode's been difficult to talk about, don't get me wrong. But why this one? And it's because body image is so personal. And if I'm being honest with myself, which I promised I would do, and honest to myself, honest to you guys, it's probably the thing I'm the most embarrassed about. Like, how did I allow myself to get to 250 pounds? It's wild to think about. Like, so many of you have reached out to me just in the promotion videos leading up to the release of this episode. And I've had people be like, that's not you. That's like your long lost cousin. And, you're just using their pictures for like clout, for likes, for to go viral. And I'm like, no, that's me. I don't even recognize myself. It's crazy, but it's real. And that was me. So, you know, it's hard to come on camera and tell you guys this, and I procrastinated and like not wanted to do it and kept pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off, but like that's the thing. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. And so my relationship with the gym is very similar now. Like I made a commitment to myself that I was going to get healthy and care about my my health and my fitness and not ever allow myself to get to that place again. And so while I might not be, perfect, and I definitely miss some days, like consistency is the name of the game. It's committing to doing what you said you're going to do. Even if you fall off the wagon, it's like getting back up and still doing what you said you're going to do. And so I committed to doing 24 episodes of my story for you guys and releasing them every other week. So I showed up. I'm here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be telling you guys this story, but I'm going to do it. And I know I'm going to feel better afterwards. Just like when you don't want to go to the gym, but then after you work out, you're like, you feel great. Like that's kind of what this is like. And I wish I would have known this feeling when I was younger because my life would have been really different. But here goes. So you guys already know I was an only child being raised by my mom, and I lived with her for the first 15 years of my life. And she was a single mom and she did her best. You guys know this. And, she worked hard and wasn't around. And I was always at the babysitter, and she switched jobs a lot. And at 10 years old, I was like on latchkey, so latchkey means I'm going to school, walking to school and walking home and letting myself into the house. My mom is like not there. So pretty much been very independent and grew up like at a really young age. But with that came little to no supervision. And, my mom wasn't that involved in that sense, and I don't want to like crucify her for that. She did the best that she could. But the reason why I say this is I didn't have healthy habits, like as I got older and I nannied for rich families, like I saw that they enrolled their kids in sports at really young ages, and they had them playing outside with their friends, and they made sure that they ate healthy snacks, and that dinner was being prepared every night like a healthy meal, even if that meant hiring the nanny to cook because they didn't have the time. My mom was busy. So, and I was a picky eater. I still am a picky eater. So it's like whatever I would eat. So she'd make me boiled pasta with butter almost every night. And think about those carbs, and when it came to snacks, like no one's there to monitor how much I'm eating. So if there's a bag of cheese doodles, which were my favorite back then, the little crunchy ones, I could sit there and eat a whole bag of chips in one sitting and nobody would say anything to me. And because my mom wanted to make sure I was safe, she knew that as soon as I'm in the house and I lock the door behind me, I'm safe. Nobody can harm me. So I wasn't able to be out in the street playing and in case somebody could steal me if she's not around. So I wasn't active. I would sit in front of the TV, I would watch my shows or movies or whatever, do my homework, and I'd eat snacks. And it just, ever since I was a little kid, I was just chubby. And my mom was never like that when she was growing up. My mom was actually rail thin. Like she was gorgeous. And even whenever I would meet like her friends from high school or um, like middle school growing up, they would be like, "Oh, your mom was like the prettiest girl. Like all the boys wanted her." And and it would make me feel bad because I'm like, "Well, that wasn't the case with me, like boys didn't start liking me until like high school. But I guess it was probably the same for her too, but they just said how beautiful she was and what a nice body she had, and she was so thin. And it's like talking to my Aunt Sue, which is my godmother, her best friend since they were 3, they would be out playing all the time. They lived in a nice neighborhood and there was a lot of kids, and my grandmother was a stay-at-home wife and mom, and you know, she cooked for them every night, and they got to play with their friends and they were supervised. So it was just a very different lifestyle that we lived in. She would project onto me. So it was oftentimes when we would fight or she'd be upset with me or she called me a fatso. My own mother. I mean, in the same token, she'd always tell me, "You're the most beautiful girl in the whole world." Um, and so I always knew it was beautiful, but I always was very self-conscious about my weight. The kids would make fun of me in school. Like I'd go to school and the kids would call me Miss Piggy. Or because my last name was Stefanelli at the time, like the kids came up with the name Snuffleupagus and they would call me Snuffleupagus, which is from the Muppets. And it's like that big elephant looking thing. They were just mean. They were really mean. And, it wasn't until middle school that I asked my mom, I'm like, can I start playing sports? Like, my friends were playing softball and basketball, and like, I wanted to get involved. And she was never into sports. Like, my mom did drill squad when she was like younger. So it was like, it's kind of like cheerleading, but not cheerleading. I don't know. They didn't like have it anymore when I got to be like in high school. It was like an older thing. It was like drill squad. I think another name for it is like called color guard. I don't know. It's like marching but like cheerleading. I don't know. Look it up. But that's what my mom used to do. So she never really played any sports, and like I didn't have a father figure, I didn't have a dad around. So like it's not like I had anyone to teach me how to do these things. But her friend, my Uncle John, actually stepped in and he would take me over to the softball field and taught me how to switch hit. So I was actually a switch hitter in softball. And really quickly I got really good. Like I was just a natural. I sucked at basketball. Literally sucked. I mean, I only played basketball to stay in shape for softball. Um, I held the record for most triple hits in softball, and I was a catcher. I had 3 perfect games with one of my pitchers in high school, and they used to call me Tin Man, and that's because when I was younger, I think I might have been in like second or third grade when I said this, but I had on all the catcher equipment. I was like, "Can someone please oil my joints?" Like because just trying to be funny, and it stuck. And so forever, like my nickname was Tin Man. And that's when I started to drop some of the weight. Like I started to slim out. I started to develop. I developed at a really young age because I got my period at 10 years old. And so by the 3rd grade, I was like out of underwire bra, or I was out of training bras and in underwire bras. And then that introduced a whole nother level of like bullying and body image issues because now the boys are calling me Big Boob Schmagee. And that was like from uh, Big Daddy. That was when Big Daddy was like the popular movie at the time. And so I was so embarrassed of my chest because all my friends, like nobody had big boobs like me. And so, you know, again, I didn't have a good example. Like I didn't know, like I love seeing it now, like I feel like the world is woke when it comes to like fitness and like healthy living, right? But like back then it wasn't like a big thing or like a known thing. And so it's not like you can get on social media and like learn certain workouts, like home workouts, or like unless your parents enroll you in a gym, you go to the gym. Like that was not a thing. Unless I was practicing for sports, there was no physical activity. So I myself took it upon myself to start doing sit ups at night. And like I would literally do 100 sit ups every night before bed. And I started to build up a pretty strong like core, like muscular wall in my abdomen. But I was still chunky. Like I was still the baby fat. I still was thick, but I definitely started to thin out. And I was like, for the first time, like I think it was 14, 14, I got like a bikini and I felt like confident in it. I still was like, baby fat thick, but at the same time, I was feeling confident. But then shit hit the wall. I mean, you guys know. My mom met Kirk and they started dating, and it was a really unhealthy situation having him there, and like he was abusive, and in order to win me over, he was coming home with McDonald's all the time and bringing me McChickens, and we would get subs every single weekend going over to the Jersey Shore and be eating that. Like we ate so unhealthily. And when you're depressed and you disassociate yourself, you don't even realize like that you're eating. And so obviously I ended up in the shelter. We weren't having really healthy food there either. As I mentioned, we were walking across the street over to Route 1, or well, it was on Route 130, but from the shelter across the street was juvenile detention. And the reason why I say this so lightly is because hopefully you've been keeping up with all the episodes that I talk about these things in detail. So I'm pretty much just walking you through it again, but reference back to those earlier episodes for this all to make sense. And yeah, we would go over to juvie and we would have our meals, and we're eating government prepared food. Like it was all processed crap. Like it was all terrible food. Like none of it was like freshly made or healthy. And that was, luckily only for about 2 months, 2.5 months. And then I went into foster care and I was living with this Puerto Rican family, as you guys know. And I learned how to cook, like living with them. And I was cooking dinner for like 14 people every night. I had never had Puerto Rican food before then. And I was actually really afraid of it to start with because it had, I grew up white. I mean, I'm Italian. So yeah, there's flavor and things, lots of garlic. Um, but none of these seasonings I had ever experienced before, like sazon, sofrito, recaito, like adobo, like all these things that I had never tasted before. Um, and it wasn't very long until I realized, wow, like this is good. Like this is flavor. Like this is sabor. And so I started cooking and I started eating. And by that, because we were cooking so much food for so many people, there was always leftovers and there was always room for seconds. And so I started having double servings at dinner, if that meant 2 bowls of rice, or if that meant 2 bowls of mashed potatoes, or maybe I had an extra piece of chicken or an extra chuleta, like which is a pork chop. And so I was overeating and I didn't even realize that I was overeating. And still in high school, it was like maintainable. Like I didn't like look that bad. I wasn't that overweight. I was definitely overweight, but it wasn't like to the point of like, oh, she's like obese. But then I went to college and they always say like the freshman 15, right? But Seton Hall had a brand new cafe on campus. They redid the entire cafeteria. And inside, like, which is where we call like the swipe area, where you can like swipe for your pirate bucks. Um, that was a buffet. And it was literally a buffet, like a smorgasbord of whatever it is that you can imagine. They had it. And then you can also cook your own food there too. They had different stations, like one called like Walk It Up, and you can like make your own stir fry. And then there's another area to make your own sandwich or your own salad, or you can have the freshly prepared meals that they had. They always had like rotisserie chicken and like mashed potatoes, and it's limitless. Like as long as you're in the buffet, you can eat as much as you want or as little as you want. And I ate as much as I wanted, whatever I wanted. And then there's soda and there's juice and there's all of these things. And it's like there's no one there to teach you or encourage you to make healthy decisions. And so you just go buck wild. And pretty much almost every freshman does, which is why you have like their freshman 15. But most of the time, people are able to burn the weight because they have healthy habits and they realize that it's out of control, and they get in the gym and they start, you know, watching what they're eating and all of those things. And I didn't realize how much I had disassociated myself with all the trauma in my life, and that I was basically turning to food in order to disassociate. Like I truly didn't realize it. Like as a matter of fact, I would always tell my friends, I really don't eat a lot. Like, I don't know why I'm so heavy. And, in comparison to other people that I saw were like pretty on the heavier side, I didn't eat a lot, like I wasn't like gorging myself, but I was definitely going for seconds, and seconds is enough to do damage. And then on the outside of the buffet area, there's all these areas to get like to go food. Like we had Nathan's on campus, and we had, a wrap place and um, a salad place. And it's just like constantly, anytime you want food. Plus, we would order, from off campus. Like we would get Chinese delivered at like 2 in the morning, or we would go to the Italian spot and we would get some, subs, or we would get pizza or whatever. It's just all these unhealthy habits. Plus, I started dating my ex boyfriend at the time. Well, that was like junior year. And he was overweight. And I talked about that in the episode with him, like how, we both had unhealthy habits and going out to eat all the time. And yes, I cooked, of course, but I wasn't cooking healthy things. And so finally, I want to say it was either the end of my college career or right after I had graduated. I was like, I want to start getting into shape. Like, I really like, I noticed how heavy I got. And it's when I started having actual pictures, because like the point and shoot cameras came out. And so like that's when I started in the prior episodes like posting pictures of myself like with my sorority sisters, and I was seeing videos of myself like strolling and stepping and just taking pictures with my sorority sisters and seeing how I look next to them, and I'm like, whoa, like I'm big. I didn't feel that way. I always felt confident. I always felt beautiful. Like I always did my hair and I always did my makeup, and I always, picked out cute outfits. Like I was always very confident. Plus I had a boyfriend, and I was still getting hit on, like it didn't hurt that I always had big boobs, and guys love big boobs. And then of course I had a big butt, and even though I was heavy, I still had shape to me. I had curves. And when you're into black guys, and that's what they like, is thick women. So I never felt like I was at a disadvantage as far as getting attention. And I always felt sexy because my man was attracted to me. But at the same time, once I started seeing myself in pictures, I started to feel differently. There was things that I wanted to wear that I couldn't wear, because although I was a big girl, I always wore things that I felt like flattered my body type. I was never the big girl that's going to be out here with my midriff out showing like my gut, or a really short skirt where like my cellulite and thunder thighs are hanging out. Like I still wore fashion that I felt like was complementary to my body type. And there was all these plus size stores that were coming out to cater to bigger girls. So I would frequently go and shop there and get all the fashion trends that were the same as the non plus size girls, but it just suited my body type. But then I'm like, well, there's bathing suits that I want to wear, or like low cut shirts that I want to wear, or things that I want to wear that I wish I didn't have to wear a bra. And like that just wasn't a possibility for me with my size. And so I'm like, okay, I joined Weight Watchers and I was going through the process, eating healthier, buying like the lean cuisine meals and the smart ones, and like trying to portion out my food. I started, Google was like a bigger thing then, and I started trying to teach myself all of the things that I needed to learn in order to start living a healthier lifestyle. And then I was going to the gym, but I had no idea what I was doing. I had never worked out with a trainer. I'm in the other episode that I posted, you guys saw I got like a nicer apartment, that last apartment that I had moved to, and it was like a luxury skyrise. So we had like a gym on site in my building. So for the first time, I had access to a gym like where I lived. And so I would go there and I would get on the treadmill and I'd walk. It was too heavy to run. I couldn't even, if I started running just for like 2 minutes, I'd be completely out of breath. So I would just walk. And then no one explained to me like consistency is the name of the game. Like you got to keep at it. It's not an overnight thing. I just kept getting discouraged and I'm like, I'm doing all the things. I'm counting calories. I'm doing Weight Watchers. I'm portioning out my meal. I'm making healthier decisions. I'm eating healthier things. I'm working out and I'm sweating every day and I'm walking and like I just didn't see the weight coming off. And I was just so discouraged and I'm like and at this point I had graduated. I felt like I was getting overlooked for promotions at work. It was like I was invisible, like nobody could see me. And I had my grandmother in the back of my head who like I would always go and visit her for at least like 1 week in the summertime. And she was always so like conscious of my weight and like telling me like you're too heavy, or don't snack and eat those things, or don't eat past 7 o'clock. She wrote out like exercises for me to do like for my legs, like leg lifts, and laying on your side and lifting your leg up, or laying on your back and lifting your leg straight up. Like she's telling me these are things that you can do before bed. My grandmother was always this petite little thing that was like always so gorgeous, and I knew she was embarrassed of how heavy I was and how chubby I was my whole life. And so, when we would go out to eat, she would tell me, separate your food and chew everything very thoroughly, and like don't eat so fast, wait for it to hit your stomach. And I didn't want to listen because she wasn't involved in my life, and it just felt like she was nitpicky and nagging and like being nasty and like not supportive. It's like I don't see you my entire life, and then the 1 week that I do see you every summer, all you're going to do is rag on me about my weight and tell me all the things that I'm doing wrong. And so it was like one in one ear and out the other. But she always said that like first impressions are everything. And that, when someone first meets you, the first thing that they see is what you look like. And if they don't like what they see, then they're just going to dismiss you. And so it started to just really like weigh on me heavy. And I had a few, and not friends, but it was like relatives of my friends who had had a weight loss surgery procedure done called gastric bypass. There's also like gastric sleeve. There was also, of course, lipo, like all these things to like lose weight. And I started doing the research for all of it and realized that when you hit a certain BMI, which stands for, I believe, body mass index, it becomes a medical like procedure that's covered by insurance in order for you to lose the weight. And at this point, I felt like I had tried everything. And I felt like genetically, I was just at a disadvantage. My mom was 300 pounds, and, that's all that I had ever seen her. I know that when she was younger, she was smaller, but I'm like, no, genetically, I got the short end of the stick. Like, I'm just one of those people that's been chubby my whole life, and I'm just not going to be able to lose the weight. And so I went through the process with insurance and, I got approved to get this surgery called gastric bypass. And it was a long drawn out process. I had to have a psychological evaluation done because majority of patients that have this procedure end up gaining the weight back because they have a bad relation or a poor relationship with food. They overeat. And when you don't heal the mental relationship that you have with food, you can easily overeat again. The stomach is essentially a muscle, and you can stretch it out and then gain that weight back. And so the procedure of gastric bypass is when the doctors surgically, laparoscopically go in to your stomach, and they cut your stomach into like the size of an egg. So it's a fraction of the size that it normally would be. And they actually remove a portion of your intestines, and they reroute the intestines to the stomach. So when you eat it, you go through a much faster digestive process, and you don't actually absorb all of the calories that you're intaking. And so it's an irreversible procedure, which is scary. And it changes your life forever. And I knew what I was signing up for, but for me, the opportunity cost was much greater than continuing to be overweight and then feeling like I couldn't lose the weight. And so that's kind of the part that I still deal with every day. So, I mean, you guys are welcome to do your own research on this, but there's things that I cannot eat anymore, like because they cause something called dumping, which makes you feel sluggish. It makes you feel like sometimes your body gets really warm and like numb. The best way to describe it, they say it feels like when you're drunk. Like imagine when you drink all this alcohol, and then like the room's kind of spinning. You're just like, oh, I just need to sit down, and like you get flushed. And it's like that's kind of what can happen with food if you eat too much of the wrong kind of food. So like rice and pasta are carbs, and that converts to sugar, and sugar is something that the body has a really hard time processing after you've had this procedure. So there's these things I can't really like enjoy anymore. I also get full really, really, really quick because remember my stomach is the size of an egg. And so I might just take 2, 3 bites of something and be like, I'm good. And like that's how I know that it was kind of genetic, as also, my own decisions. It played both things played a part in why I got to the weight that I got. But like a lot of people that have this procedure done end up gaining the weight back, and that's because they eat to the point of feeling sick. And when you get bloated, you're like, oh, I gotta untie my pants, or I got to unbutton my pants, or I just got to take them off or whatever. Like I don't do that anymore. When I'm full, I stop. Like I'm very aware of my body, and I will only eat what I am able to eat. Otherwise, if I overeat, I will throw up. And that's not fun, because if you do that enough, then eventually other things in your body are going to fail. Like maybe your hair starts falling out, or maybe your teeth start decaying, like the symptoms of like anemia, or not anemia. I have anemia too now because of this actually, but bulimia is the word that I was looking for. When someone's bulimic, then they're not getting all the nutrients that they're supposed to be getting because they're throwing up their food. And so, now I have to watch my protein intake. So I put protein in my coffee every morning, and I try to have protein shakes as often as possible. And I have to take my multivitamins every single day because, again, I'm not absorbing as much of all the calories that it is that I'm eating. So then I'm also not absorbing all of the nutrients that I would be getting from food. So I have to supplement that with my vitamins and with my protein shakes and things of that nature. So it's like a forever lifestyle change, that at sometimes I'm like, man, like, did I make the right decision? Like, I see my friends enjoying food, and I'm like, I don't enjoy food the way that I used to. Like, my relationship with food is much more of like, I eat now because to survive, like, I can't really enjoy food. I can't sit down and actually finish an entire meal. Take a couple of bites and then I come back to it in like another hour or 2 hours. Like, that's the way that I eat now. I eat very small portions every like hour to 2 hours, which I think is healthier, and it definitely speeds up the metabolism. But there's days where I have bad days too, where it's like nothing seems to sit well in my stomach, and I just feel like I don't have a taste for anything. Sometimes I don't even have an appetite, or I try to eat and like my stomach rejects the food that I'm eating, and I actually have a hard time keeping it down. Like these are the realities. And when your gut health is not in good standing, it affects your mental mood. And then if you're not in a good place mentally, then your social life gets affected. Like sometimes I'm just like, oh, I don't feel good. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to be around anyone. And so, I'm telling you guys a lot of the negative things that are associated with having the surgery, because I want you to understand this wasn't like a quick fix, like this was a long thought out decision, and I have to live with it every day. Like, yes, I lost over 100 pounds and I look and feel great now. Um, but it's not a quick fix. It's not like, oh, I went and just got lipo and I got all that fat removed and got it put into other places. Like, I will say, I was very blessed and fortunate that genetically my skin snapped back. I didn't have to have any skin removal procedures. I mean, you guys can see there's a little jiggly there on my arms, but I would say that's not too different than pretty much anyone who's been naturally skinny if they don't work out. But my stomach, oddly enough, like if you were to punch me in the stomach right now, like it's hard as a rock. Like you guys could probably hear that. And I think that that's attributed to all the sit-ups that I used to do when I was a kid. Like I built up that strong abdomen core wall. It makes me wonder, like, had I thought to do other exercises every day, would I have been different? Like, had I been taught healthier habits, would it have been different? Where I do suffer from excess loose skin is my thighs. I've always had what I call thunder thighs, like larger thighs. It's just in my Italian genetics. But, you know, when I walk, they jiggle. I have cellulite. Like, I am not perfect. Some of my pictures are edited. We all do it. But ultimately, like, I am confident in the skin that I'm in. I'm a real woman. I haven't had a BBL. People have asked me, have you had a BBL? I've had 2 breast reductions actually. And that was because, imagine, after losing all that weight, you know, the skin is hanging, and that's, especially when it comes to like breasts, like that's not something that will snap back. And so actually all of my cousins who were not overweight, they're actually drop dead gorgeous. They've always been very fit. They all had breast reductions as well, because it's just a genetic thing. It runs in our family. We have large breasts, and it hurts your back, and it's challenging to wear certain things, and it attracts the wrong kind of attention. And so a lot of people have gone to the same surgeon to get implants. We went to the same surgeon to get reductions. So I was the last of all of my cousins to go because I'm the youngest. But we all went to the same doctor in La Jolla and had our breast reductions. I've actually had 2. And the reason for that is because that's probably the only thing that's unnatural on my body. Is I do have implants, but they put them behind the muscle. And the reason for that is because, as the doctor described, it's very hard to reconstruct the breast to be circular and to achieve the aesthetic look that you want to achieve without putting an implant in, because even though you have natural breast tissue, the skin has stretched out. And so even my cousins who were not overweight had to have the procedure done the same way. So they also have implants behind their muscle. And the breast tissue on the outside is all natural. So it still feels like a very natural breast, because the implants behind the muscle, you can't feel it. that makes any sense. But he had gone a little too large on the implant. He had overestimated. And then a couple months after it healed, I'm like, wait a minute, why are they sagging? Like, I didn't pay 10 grand for it to look like this. Yes, I said 10 grand. It's actually much more expensive to get a reduction than it is to get implants. I believe you can get implants for like half the cost. Um, so, because it's just so much more that goes into the surgery. It's not just a circular incision around the nipple, it's what they call an anchor. So it goes around the nipple, down the breast, and then I actually have a scar around here, down the breast, and under like this. So it looks like an anchor. I've healed really well. Like, you can barely see the scar anymore. Luckily, I didn't keloid, but I have scars from that. I also have scars on my abdomen from the laparoscopic procedure to do the gastric bypass. Can't really see those either because they're laparoscopic. They're very small. I've considered doing a thigh lift because of the loose skin that I have on my thighs, but it's a gnarly scar that I don't think is worth it because the loose skin is not that bad to the point where it's like hanging and it's like gross. It's just like I look like I have old lady thighs before I need to have old lady thighs. And so that's why I bust my ass working out in the gym. And am I perfect in the gym? No. Like, I have some months where I'm like super solid and like I'm going almost every single day. And then I might fall off for a little while and then hop back on the wagon. But like, the name of the game is consistency and never giving up and just always going back to live a healthy lifestyle. It's a lifestyle change. It's not a get fit quick scheme. Like, it's not like, oh, let me do this diet and I'm going to drop the weight. No, that's not sustainable. You have to make healthy decisions. And so I do tend to eat on the healthier side now. I make healthier choices and I take my vitamins, I take my supplements, I go to the gym, I drink my water. um but there's days where I'm not so healthy and there's days where I eat things that I probably shouldn't and then I feel like crap, and I'm like, that's okay too. It's okay to fall off as long as you get back on. And ultimately, what I learned is that health is wealth. And I never realized that, like, it's true what they say, you are what you eat. And what you put in your body, if you're constantly putting all these processed foods in your body, it's going to affect your lifespan, your life expectancy. Like, there's so many bad things in the processed food that we consume. There's carcinogens and things that cause cancer. And it's like, it's very important to understand what it is that you're consuming, what it is that you're putting in your body, because that essentially is what can prolong your life expectancy so that you can live to have a healthy, happy life. Um, and obviously, whatever you're putting in your body can affect your emotional mood, your gut health. Like I mentioned earlier, affects your mental health, and you being social with other people. And so I have realized that since I've lost the weight, I obviously do get a lot more attention from men and even from women. And people are always like, why are you so cool? Why are you so down to earth? Like, normally girls that look like you like don't act this way, or they're not as down to earth and relatable. And maybe that's attributed to the fact that I live both lives. Like, I know what it's like to be 250 pounds, and I know what it's like to be, a bad bitch, how they say. It's like, at the end of the day, I've always been Victoria. Like, I've always been me. Like, and that's why I posted in those promo reels leading up to the release of this episode. Like, I was still taking my outfit of the day selfies in the mirror with my cute outfit when I was 250 pounds. I still did my hair. I still did my makeup. It's not like I was like gave up on myself. Like, I still took pride in my appearance. And so that's why I say, like, body image is a very personal relationship. Like, some people can be overweight and still feel like $1,000,000. I mean, it might not be the healthiest lifestyle, but maybe they like that. Maybe they enjoy being overweight. Maybe they don't want to be skinny. I mean, who are we to judge? For me, the reason why I did it was because I wanted to get healthy. It was when I bent over to tie my shoe and I was out of breath to tie my shoe that I was like, oh, this is bad. Like, this has gone out of control. This is not okay. Like, I need to do something to fix this. I thought about I don't have kids yet. At the time, I was in a 5-year relationship and I was thinking about getting married and wanting to start a family. And I'm like, if I'm already this heavy, imagine getting pregnant on top of this and I won't even be able to walk. Like, how am I going to be able to keep up with my baby once they're born? And so, I was thinking forward thinking, like, I need to get healthy. I need to drop this weight. Like, it was a combination of wanting to get healthy and the fashionista in me that wanted to be able to wear the clothes that I couldn't wear the crop tops and wear the low cut shirts without the bra, like I there was many reasons that impacted my decision, and ultimately I don't regret it. I'm happy that I made the decision that I made. I think that um I've a lot of opportunities have opened up to me since I've lost the weight that I don't think I would have gotten had I still been overweight. I hate to admit that I think my grandmother was right about that. It's part of humanity. Like, we look at people, we judge them from the outside, unfortunately. And first impressions are most of the time a physical impression. And attractive people, there's a reason why attractive people are in sales and why they tend to be pretty successful, because people like to look at them and listen to them and give them opportunities and think of them. It's just the harsh reality. That's not to say that there's not heavier people that don't get opportunities and aren't successful, but I think that there is a much greater, higher number of physically fit and attractive people that are more successful over people that are heavier. And I think it's because there's a stigma attached to um, weight that dictates whether or not you're a hard worker or if you're lazy. You know, it's no it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone that it takes a lot of dedication and discipline to be physically fit, because that's a mental commitment that you have to make to get up and go to the gym every day, when it's a lot easier to just be lazy and not work out. And so, as I said in the beginning of this podcast episode, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. If someone looks at someone and says, oh, they're really fit, they go and they work out in the gym every day, they're a hard worker, they can apply that same mentality to how they may work in an office or in the job that they're doing. And I'm not saying whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent. It's just the way that the mental psyche works. And so, I want to be a resource for people to come to ask questions about body image and physical fitness and um, weight loss surgery and, mental health associated with all of that. I'm not an expert. I can only talk on my experience, but it's been something that's weighed heavy on me for a long time. I mean, I did this when I lived in Jersey, and people obviously saw me drop the weight when I lived there, but Jersey people are not so intrusive. It's like they mind their business and they stay in their corner. So I think a lot of the people that I knew in Jersey didn't even know that I had this surgery unless they were my close friends. And then when I moved here to San Diego, I'm 3,000 miles away starting a brand new life. Nobody knew my life beforehand. And so this came as a huge surprise and shock to many people that that's what I used to look like, and that was my life before I moved here. And I don't want to bamboozle anybody. I don't want anyone to think like, oh, she's a fraud or she's fake, or, I actually kind of heard through the grapevine. I won't drop any names, but I heard that a few of my sorority sisters had said that, oh, she moved to San Diego and she got Hollywood. Like, she lost all that weight and now look at the life she's living. It's okay. Is that what you think? Is that the kind of person you think I am? What I learned over the years is that what people say about you isn't a reflection of you, it's a reflection of them. It's what their insecurities within themselves, what they're projecting onto you. And it's the unfortunate truth, but I got so much stronger when I learned that. Once I learned that, they say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Um, Words do hurt. They do hurt, but when you step into your truth and you tell your own story and you own that narrative, you take your power back. But when people don't know the truth and when you're hiding behind it and everything's unknown, you provide a platform for people to say whatever it is that they want to say about you. And all it takes is one person to say one thing, and then it's like spreads like wildfire, and people will believe what they want to believe and take it how they want to take it. But when you step into your truth, when you own your truth and you tell your story, nobody knows your story better than you. And you take the power away from those people that try to write your narrative for you. So, you know, I said in the beginning of this episode, I procrastinated so long to tell you guys this, and I was feeling like, like this is the thing that I'm the most embarrassed about. And like, I feel like I took the easy way out. But as I've talked to you guys on this camera and told you guys my story, I feel so liberated. I feel so free. I feel so convicted in my decision that I made. And it's my story at the end of the day. Like, I can't control what happened to me when I was a kid and not having um, those healthy boundaries put in place, and for someone to teach me how to work out and how to eat right and to watch what I eat. Like, none of that happened when I was a kid. That was completely out of my control. That was honestly up to my parent to make sure that I was raised in that way, and that didn't happen. But once I became an adult and I realized what kind of life I wanted to live and how I wanted to be healthy, I wanted to get healthy, I made the decision that was best for me to do that. And I think it's a testament that here I am. I had the surgery in 2013. So here I am in 2024, 11 years later, and I still am like, I was 250 pounds. I'm weighing between 135 to 140 right now. I fluctuate in my weight, depending on what I eat, how consistent I am in the gym, and how much water I'm drinking. But I've lost over 100 pounds and I've kept it off. And that's because for me, the weight loss surgery was a reset button. It was an opportunity for me to write my own narrative. And I've been able to maintain that ever since. I don't know what the future holds. I made a promise to myself to never allow myself to get unhealthy like that again. I've never been pregnant. I've never dealt with pregnancy weight and gain. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to gain weight through pregnancy like that because of the surgery that I had. And malabsorption. I've talked to my doctor about this, and there's been plenty of people who have had this surgery and had successful pregnancies, but didn't gain as much weight through their pregnancy because of it. So maybe that's an added bonus or benefit, but you know, I'm happy with the decision that I made. And I hope that by me sharing this message with you, you find confidence in who it is that you are, your story, the decisions that you made, or the opportunities that you didn't have to make a decision. Decisions were made for you, and that you learn to forgive yourself and give yourself grace, and now take ownership and responsibility and write your own narrative, make your own path, and stand strong in your truth. If this message resonated with you, if you feel like you learned something, or there's someone that you think needs to hear it, I really hope that you share this message with them, because as you know, there's strength in community. And I'm just going to continue to show up every other week and show my scars so you guys know that you can heal. Lots of love and sparkle.
Now and then I get insecure from all the pain. I'm so ashamed.